मिलती नहीं ताकत के करे शुक्रिया इंसान बंदों पे खुदा रहता है हर दम ही मेहरबान मिलती नहीं ताकत के करे शुक्रिया इंसान बंदों पे खुदा रहता है हर दम ही मेहरबान आया महीना वो के जिसका नाम है रमजान आया महीना वो के जिसका नाम है रमजान कुरान भी शाहिद बना बर अज़मत रमजान कुरान भी शाहिद
In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. Your Excellency, highly respected Mrs. Vella, distinguished speakers and guests, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. On behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the interfaith iftar dinner in the month of Ramadan, the month of fasting. It is our tradition to start with a brief recitation of the Holy Quran, and for that I would like to request Mr. Yusuf Muhammad to recite a portion of the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. In the name of Allah, most gracious, ever merciful. O ye who believe, fasting is prescribed for you during a fixed number of days as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may safeguard yourselves against every kind of ill. Tread on the path of virtue and become righteous. Quran chapter 2, verse 184.
Thank you. Before we proceed further, please allow me to say a few words about the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is a religious organization within Islam. Founded in 1889, it spans over 210 countries. Its current headquarters are in the United Kingdom. We are Muslims who believe in the promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmed of Qadian, India. His advent was foretold by the founder of Islam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He came to revive Islam and to unite humanity under one banner, a banner of peace, love, justice, morality, harmony, and brotherhood. He highlighted the values of harmony and respect amongst the followers of different religions, and he particularly showed respect and reverence towards the founders of all world religions. He also recognized the noble teachings of the great religious founders. Today, his community continues to be an advocate for universal human rights and protections for religious and other minorities. It believes in the absolute freedom of religion and condemns extremism and violence in any form and for any reason whatsoever. 5 spiritual leaders have succeeded the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community since his demise in 1908. The community's 5th and current spiritual head, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmed, resides in the United Kingdom. Under this spiritual leadership, the community has built over 500 schools, over 30 hospitals, numerous model villages, and provided water and electricity in many parts of the world. Following the pristine teachings of Islam, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is continuously running various humanitarian projects in order to alleviate poverty and ignorance. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community has been at the forefront of worldwide disaster relief through its independent charitable organization, Humanity First. Fundamental to Islamic teaching is that Muslims must live peacefully with all members of society and never cause any harm or distress. The members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are encouraged to live by its famous motto, love for all, hatred for none. Thank you for your attention. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely delighted to have with us His Excellency Dr. George Vella, the President of Malta, and Mrs. Vella. It's an immense honor and privilege for me to request His Excellency Dr. George Vella, the President of the Republic of Malta, for an opening address. Your Excellency.
Imam Laiq Ahmed Atif, Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Once again, it is with great pleasure that I am meeting with members of the Muslim community to celebrate the breaking of the fast together. This coming together reaffirms our strong belief in the universal values of dialogue, acceptance, and peace. Values that are not necessarily found and practiced everywhere, unfortunately. I wish to congratulate Imam Laiq Ahmed Atif and the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat for taking such an open-minded approach to the events of the traditional Islamic calendar, and promoting unity by inviting us all here today to share with you the breaking of the fast irrespective of our religious beliefs. In the past month, Muslims in Malta and around the world embarked on a deep and very personal spiritual journey, the month of Ramadan. To many who are not conscious of what it actually means, Ramadan might be interpreted only as being nothing more than a period of fasting, a period where Muslims make the sacrifice of not eating and drinking for a whole day. We all know that Ramadan is much more than that. Ramadan is a period where one exerts self-discipline. It is a time to impose on oneself self-control. It is an occasion to redirect the heart towards understanding others and sympathizing with the needs of others. It is a time to be generous with those less fortunate than us. It is at this time that one is expected to find time for introspection, for deep personal examination of our strengths and our weaknesses. It is a time in which one can experience spiritual reawakening and hopefully strengthen one's conviction and resolve to do better in life. Empathy and acceptance of the different ideas of others, of different peoples and different cultures, as well as different beliefs or lack of them, are keys towards the fulfillment of our purpose in life. A common shared purpose in all human beings, the preservation of life and the promotion of unity and cooperation in peace, security, stability, and prosperity. These are the ideal objectives of present and future generations. These values and virtues, especially the need to care for and respect the less fortunate, are not principles unique to Islam or any particular religion. These are shared universal values. These are innate human trends, lost only and put aside, unfortunately, when greed, power, envy, and extremism take over. Our own national anthem, which is essentially a prayer to God, which we call Allah in our language, also carries a strong message in favor of harmony and unity, as well as invoking peace. We sing and say, Sedda ilaqda fil Maltin Uslim. This is proof, if any was needed, that unity and peace are timeless principles which were dear to our forefathers and have been passed on to us. These universal and shared values and principles should continue to guide us along the way on our voyage through life and all the obstacles we find in our way forwards. These ideals should illuminate our minds and warm our hearts to be more compassionate and to adopt a more open and a more sincere fraternal approach towards all around us. This spiritual retreat of Ramadan is therefore a unique opportunity for the Maltese community as a whole, Muslims, Catholics, Protestant, Jews, and all the others, to reflect on these principles and to reaffirm our common beliefs and our commitment to unity and peace. My appeal as President of this country is to all peace-loving citizens to harbor these principles and these values in their homes, at place of work, and at all other places where people meet to socialize or entertain themselves. I call on everybody to cherish, to celebrate, and to promote the peaceful and amicable relationships between the different communities found in these beautiful islands we call home. To conclude, allow me once again to appeal to all of us to reaffirm our strong belief in the instruments of dialogue, mutual understanding, and inclusion. Let us reaffirm salam, peace, as our ultimate and final objective. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for such a profound and thought-provoking address. Our next speaker tonight is Reverend Dr. Joseph Ellul. Reverend Ellul is the chairman of the Commission for Interreligious Dialogue of the Archdiocese of Malta. The topic of his address is A Christian Perspective on Fasting.
You know, the Bible always uses the setting of a meal in order to portray a sense of happiness and harmony. In the Bible, there is nothing better than sharing the same loaf, cum panis, from which the word company is derived, after all. And in the Psalms, we read, "Behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers and sisters dwell in unity. For there the Lord has commanded the blessing, life forevermore." But enough about food, let's talk about fasting now. All practices integral to the Christian faith are inspired either by the words or by the deeds of Jesus Christ. This is because we Christians believe that he causes us to enter into an intimate knowledge of the mystery of God. The gospel narratives recount that Jesus prayed and fasted for 40 days in the desert following his baptism by John before embarking upon his mission that lay ahead, and to prepare himself for the decisions that he was to take and which were to mark his presence then and now. He lives among wild beasts, and angels serve him. At the end of this time, Satan tempts him in an effort to persuade him to relinquish his mission. Jesus rejects these suggestions and affirms his total obedience to the divine will. Such a practice was also followed by the apostles as they prepared themselves and others for the task of spreading the gospel taught by their master. Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving are three complementary expressions of the one Christian faith. Jesus points to the right interior disposition that is required in order to fulfill them. And I quote from his teachings: "When you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. When you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. When you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by men, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you." In the Christian tradition, fasting requires not only righteous external conduct, but an interior disposition that creates an awareness of the divine presence. It is not practiced for its own sake, but as an acknowledgement of one's human weaknesses, and with the intention of seeking forgiveness for one's faults, both against God and against one's fellow human beings. Furthermore, fasting is ideally taken up in conjunction with prayer and almsgiving, as I have already said. Together they nourish and sustain a holy and devout life. Seeking forgiveness is the first step toward maturity in one's faith and growth in love of God and love of neighbor. Alongside the Bible, the entire Christian tradition, beginning with the teachings of those whom we refer to as the fathers of the church, that's to say, the principal and most authoritative teachers of the Christian faith, have underlined the necessity and the efficacy of this threefold practice. Indeed, one of them, St. Peter Chrysologus, who lived in the 5th century, demonstrates the bond that exists between prayer, fasting, and works of mercy when he writes, and I quote, "There are three things by which faith stands firm, devotion remains constant, and virtue endures. They are prayer, fasting, and mercy. Prayer knocks at the door, fasting obtains, mercy receives. Prayer, fasting, and mercy. These three are one, and they give life to each other. Fasting is the soul of prayer. Mercy is the lifeblood of fasting. Let no one try to separate them. They cannot be separated. If you have only one of them, or not altogether, you have nothing. So if you pray, fast. If you fast, show mercy. If you want your petition heard, hear the petition of others. If you do not close your ear to others, you open God's ear to yourself. Therefore, let prayer, mercy, and fasting be one single plea to God on your behalf, one speech in our defense, a threefold united prayer in our favor." End of quote. These three practices are especially, though not exclusively, characteristic of that season which is known as Lent in our tradition. It is a period which leads us towards the celebration of the central event of our faith, the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. In this, we are effectively aided by readings from the Bible in order to profit better from this holy period. There is no room for lamentation for its own sake or for self-loathing, but of profound recognition of one's need for divine mercy and progress in contemplating the life of God through Jesus Christ. Christians undertake these three practices because they express conversion. In conversion in relation to oneself, to God, and to others. They also enhance a sense of solidarity with those who are in need, with the marginalized, with those who have no voice. In other words, with those with whom we should identify most because they are closest to God, who hears their cry of pain and who spurs us to affirm their dignity and to act in their defense. This attitude is brought about in daily life by gestures of reconciliation, concern for the poor, the exercise and defense of justice and right, by admission of one's faults to one's brothers and sisters, revision of life, examination of conscience, acceptance of suffering, and endurance of persecution for the sake of righteousness. For this reason, God, through the prophet Isaiah, exhorts us by these words: learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Come now, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall become like wool. Therefore, in the Christian tradition, the emphasis on fasting does not lie so much in its performance according to strict rules, but rather in the attitude adopted by the person who fasts. In fasting, the Christian seeks God's mercy through Jesus Christ and looks with gratitude at his infinite love. It implies a look at one's past and a hopeful look towards the future. On Ash Wednesday, which marks the beginning of the Lenten season, we Christians have ashes placed upon our heads by the priest or deacon, who accompanies this gesture with the words, "Repent and believe in the gospel." These are the very words uttered by Jesus himself as he inaugurated his mission in Galilee. This celebration implies an abandoning of one's ways of the past in order to embrace the life and message of Jesus Christ. It is an invitation to undertake a new life guided by the Spirit of God and the example of Jesus. This leads us to the true meaning of conversion. It begins with the call of God to each of us to take a new path, to turn a new page, and our response to this call. Bearing in mind our belief and practice as Christians, the season of Lent leads towards that of Easter, during which we contemplate the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Our lives are bound to his, as his is bound to ours. This means that we look beyond our earthly existence to a life without end. As St. Paul aptly reminds us, the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Ellul, for your speech. Our third speaker is Mr. Gordhan Mohnani. Mr. Mohnani is representing the Maltese Hindu community. He will talk about the concept of fasting in Hinduism.
Honorable Excellency George Vella, Mr. Atif, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gordhan Mohnani, and basically we've been in Malta for the last 140 years. The first Indian came to Malta in 1880, so we are the fourth generation. Just some information about the Indian community. Fasting in Hindu religion is very important. The spiritual significance of fasting is today being forgotten because we're losing contact with our inner being. Nevertheless, the science of fasting, as preserved in the Vedas and Shastras, is a method of purification which can aid man in his mundane and spiritual life. These ancient tests are inherited from our ancestors who understood and were in tune with the law of nature and man. The system they devised came from the profound knowledge and enabled people to raise his consciousness into the higher level. It has been scientifically proven that the fasting makes the mind calm and serene. In yoga terminology, this is known as the sattvic element. Because the mind becomes predominantly sattvic and more receptive, the scriptures advise the worship of certain deities during the fasting periods. one of nature's most fundamental rhythms can be observed in the phases of the moon. Scientifically, it is known that the tides of the ocean during full moon and dark moon, they are completely abate. These phases must therefore affect the human body, which is effectively 70% made out of water. The most relevant and popular periods for fasting are Pushman, which is full moon, and Anasva, which is no moon. These times are recommended for young and unnamed youths in particular, since obviously we have different nationalities in India. So we have the Buddha Purman, which is done usually in May or June, and these fasts are also done by different gurus, which would obviously be decided by the gurus themselves. Mahashavastri, which falls in March, is noted for the time when Shiva consciously was named or united with Parvati, which is energy. The particular Ahmed verse is significant because it is supposed to be the darkest night of the moon of the year. Other types of diets which don't fall particularly on any special day are individually weekly. On Monday fasting, it is in reference of Shiva. On Tuesday, it is for Ganesha and Devi. On Thursday, it is for Guru, and this is in the form of the Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. On Friday, it is Swama Sasti, which is worshipped, and on Saturday, blessings from Hanuman can be granted. One specific day is usually taken by individual with his personal belonging, and this is often allocated under guidance of his guru. Unmarried women usually perform fasts and worship to have good husbands in marriage. This is called Jara Parvati because Parvati performed fasts to win her husband Shiva. Young girls usually do this in the 9th month, which is July-August. Married women fast at the time in June, praying for the life of their husband to be very long and happy, of course. On various fasting, different days are specified. When we do a fasting, it could be done in the morning, it could be done in the afternoon, even in the night, or completely total fast and just some fruit in the night. India, of course, being divided into different sects and religious groups, supports systems of fasting depending on local beliefs and climatic conditions. These fasts are done to induce a state of non-violence in all acts. By fasting, the aim is to rise above the influence of the 5 senses. Therefore, these fasts are very strict. Other groups fast on a single food, depending on climate and availability, some eating only wheat, others just rice, and some also do not have any grains because it's forbidden, and only eat fruit and some nuts and some dairy products. The whole of man's eternal and external are taken into consideration as well. Finally, we can adopt these systems on fasting to help in our daily lives, no matter what is our profession, where we live, which religion, whatever faith you have or no faith at all. These systems were formulated and recorded to enable all people to go beyond individual consciousness and experience the real essence of life. Fasting is systematically advocated in all the scriptures in order to alight the physical and subtle bodies with our own cosmos, enabling sustained equivalent in our all lives of our life from now and obviously our next life since we get reincarnated and all that. Thank you very much.
Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. Your Excellency, highly respected Mrs. Vella, distinguished speakers and guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and countless blessings of Allah be upon you all. We are truly honored to have with us His Excellency, the President of Malta, Mrs. Vella, faith and community leaders, and guests from diverse backgrounds. I take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us at this interfaith Ramadan iftar dinner during this very blessed month of fasting for Muslims. We are truly grateful that you have enlightened this event with your presence. Thank you so very much. The world stands at crossroads as tensions between nations are simmering precariously. Though we are all aware that we are passing through difficult times, most people do not realize the extent to which the relations between certain nations have worsened and how potentially disastrous the consequences could prove to be. In addition, extremism and violence is on the rise, and there is no country or area that is immune to it. More recently, the world have witnessed barbaric attacks on places of worship, such as attack on a synagogue in California, on churches in Sri Lanka, and attacks on mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand, where innocent people were killed mercilessly. The head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmed, has drawn the attention of the world towards establishing peace on many occasions. At one occasion, he said, "The world is now like a global village, and so we are not living in those bygone eras where what happened in one country only affected the local community or at most the neighboring nations. Rather, we now live in a time where a disturbance or conflict in any country has ramifications and consequences for the rest of the world. Thus, instead of fearing one another, we should strive to solve problems through mutual dialogue and with a spirit of tolerance and compassion. Our goal and objective should be nothing less than to establish peace in every village, town, or city of every nation in the world. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community has always strived to fulfill this objective, and to this end, we propagate what we consider to be the key ingredient to peace, which is a firm belief that we are all the creation of God Almighty, and He created mankind so that they would recognize Him and fulfill the rights of one another. We are truly certain that if mankind comes to this realization, true and long-lasting peace can prevail. At this critical moment, it is incumbent upon us to strive for peace, hope, and universal brotherhood. In fact, there are multiple factors that are contributing to increase distress in the world. One basic reason is the misapplication of religion and the lack of dialogue and understanding. I hope and pray that tonight's gathering becomes a beacon of hope for an effective and lasting interfaith understanding and harmony, which is so important for a harmonious and prosperous society. With these words, now I turn to my main subject tonight. I'm honored to speak about the topic, the philosophy of fasting in Islam. Fasting is a form of worship found universally in world religions. Fasting during the month of Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. These 5 pillars are the core fundamental practices that all Muslims are required to perform. Fasting is regarded as a mode for moral training, self-reflection, and spiritual enhancement. This month-long routine is meant to help purify those who undergo it. Indeed, Ramadan comes from the Arabic root word rams, which means scorching heat. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, has taught us that Ramadan has been given this name for it burns away all sins. The Holy Quran explains the deep and underlying philosophy of fasting as to become righteous, pious, God-loving, benefactor of humanity, and to sow the seeds of love, harmony, and brotherhood. The Holy Quran states, O ye who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may become righteous. In Islam, the practice of fasting is not only a physical exercise, but a spiritual one. It requires a discipline of the soul, taking one towards the love of God. Explaining the true essence and philosophy of fasting in Islam, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, to whom we believe the promised Messiah of this time, he says, fasting is not merely staying hungry and thirsty. Rather, its reality and its impact can only be gained through experience. It is human nature that the less one eats, the more one's spirit is purified, and thus his capacity for spiritual visions increases. The will of God is to decrease one kind of sustenance and to increase the other. A person who is fasting should always be mindful that he is not just required to stay hungry. On the contrary, he should remain engaged in the remembrance of God so that he cut asunder the ties of worldly desires and amusements and is wholly devoted to God. Hence, the significance of fasting is this alone, that man gives up one kind of sustenance which only nourishes the body and attains the other kind of sustenance which is a source of comfort and gratification for the soul. Thus, the philosophy of fasting in Islam does not lie with simply restraining oneself from food and drink, but is rather a complete submission to the will of God. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, has said, he who does not shun telling a lie by word and deed should know that God does not need his abstention from food or drink. The Muslims are also required to read, understand, ponder over the commandments of the Holy Quran and practice those commandments in their everyday life. Therefore, if one fasts according to its letter and spirit, it can lead to an extraordinary spiritual level. It is a means of softening the soul and brings out the raw emotions of man so that he may become worthy of being accepted by God. Additionally, it makes man compassionate towards God's creation. Abu Huraira, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, narrates that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, said, fasting is a shield. So if it is a day of fasting for any one of you, then he should engage in no obscenity or shouting. If anyone belittles him or fights with him, he should just say, I am a person who is fasting. Moreover, the Prophet has set a perfect guideline to combat the problem of hunger and inequality. He would exhort society to become one and cater the needs of all, and would not leave anyone destitute. The current spiritual leader of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, the fifth Khalifa of the promised Messiah, has very beautifully summed up fasting and its benefits. He says, when fasting is based on righteousness, it produces a beautiful society, creating a spirit of sacrifice for each other. one is drawn to the needs of one's underprivileged brothers, and this is very important because it was the blessed model of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, that during Ramadan his almsgiving and charity would gain intense momentum like a gale storm. This becomes a source of removing anxiety from society and creates feelings of empathy for the less fortunate among those who are well off, and feelings of love and gratefulness in the hearts of underprivileged for their well-off brothers. In addition to collective benefits, fasting also provides many health benefits. It reboots the immune system, helps the body detox of dangerous chemicals, lowers blood pressure, and prevents from many degenerative conditions. In fact, Ramadan is a wonderful manifestation of two fundamental principles of the entire Islamic teachings, and that are hukukullah, rights of God, meaning to worship Him and to follow His commandments, and the second is hukukul ibad, the rights of fellow human beings, that means to serve humanity and to show unconditional love and compassion for all His creation. Fasting in Ramadan enables us to continuously advance in all these good behaviors throughout the year and reminds us of the spirit and the true purpose of a human being's life as the worship of God, the attainment of His understanding, and complete devotion to Him. And Ramadan pushes us to continue strive our excellence in our behaviors to embrace and serve humanity with compassion and devotion. May Almighty Allah enable us to show kindness, compassion, and love to God's creation. Ameen. With these words, I would like to once again thank you all, respected guests, for joining us at this event. Thank you very much. God bless you all in abundance. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you, Imam Atif. Tonight we are also joined by various religious leaders.
Your Excellency, dear friends, it is with great joy that we are here with you today to celebrate after accepting the invitation of our dear friend, your Imam. That is very special honor for us. The conscious acceptance of religious pluralism and the peaceful coexistence of the different communities stem only from the conscious experience of the essence of religion. The human desire of world peace remains controversial. Cultivating a healthy religious consigns in the most stable foundation of order to peace to exist. Everyone must look forward in a God of peace and constantly seek His intervention. It is among the highest and most immediate duties of all religious workers the persistent and systematic cultivation of healthy spirituality. In the sacred text of all the monotheistic religions, there are bright examples that contribute to a peaceful coexistence and clarify the character of genuine religiosity that pleases God. It is imperative that all religious institutions continue to cultivate the peaceful theology and anthropology, drawing of the richness of religious principles and form from the best pages of our traditions. We should condemn all forms of violence by underlining the duty of every person to respect the religious freedom of his fellow human beings. Violence in the name of religion raises the essence of religion, and every crime in the name of religions is a crime against the religion itself. Religion is a divine gift given to soothe the hearts, to heal the wounds, and bring near people and nations. Peace is directly connected with justice, and a fair world cannot be peaceful. An unfair world cannot be peaceful. The most effective treatment is to consciously seek more justice for all nations, irrespective of a cultural or religious tradition, and to cultivate sincere mutual respect. Sober dialogue with the emphasis of the peaceful principles of each religion contributes significantly to the cultivation of mutual trust. Unfortunately, fanatical interpretation of religious texts more easily and thus the crowds and undermine the possibility of any interfaith dialogue. However, efforts should be stepped up to make peaceful use of the religious experience. Relations between Christians and Muslims must rely on the acceptance in the pluralistic society like Malta. Religious belief is vital for a free democratic society. Ultimately, I am confident that the opposite of peace is not war, but self-centeredness and the individual of collective, the national and the racial. Self-centeredness employs the various forms of violence that kill in different ways peaceful coexistence. This is the instigator and feeder of the bigger or smaller conflicts, and it constantly reduces hatred. The antidote of self-centeredness is not general advice, nor the varied laws and state mechanisms of repression, but the empowerment of love in the hearts of the people within society, of the multidimensional love, not limited by borders, prejudices, or order distinctions. Healthy religious consciousness is called upon to contribute to this issue because love, even in the context of long-standing conflicts, gives the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. On behalf of the Greek Orthodox community, I wish you all the best. God bless everyone personally and your family.
Your Excellency, the President of Malta, Mrs. Vella, distinguished speakers and guests, good evening. Allow me, please, to say a few words about world peace. According to Buddhism, the ego lies at the root of everything we do. And consequently, it is only when we become the master or the boss, or rather, the parent of our ego, of ourself, can true peace and harmony flow into our lives. However, and this, by the way, I can attest from my 32 years of Zen Buddhist practice. This ego, again, from personal experience, I can attest, it's not easy to find. It's very elusive. It's very much like the eye trying to see itself. It can only see itself once it is presented with a mirror. It can start to investigate itself. In everyday life, the universe very kindly provides us with such mirrors. These mirrors are unusual situations, very much, for me, like this one, where I get to meet people of different origins, different faiths, treading the same path, and where I get invited to make a speech in front of the President of Malta. My ego, for myself, is in a situation like this, becomes very tangible. How do I look? Am I making a fool of myself? Am I taking too long? Such unusual situations present themselves for each and every one of us in different forms and shapes. If we look closely during such situations, we will find, with practice, it doesn't come immediately, that the ego is very much like a child without a parent. And any child without a parent, it's usually afraid. And then, like any child without a parent, it's easy for it to make mistakes. And these mistakes can be small mistakes, can be huge mistakes. And in this case, it's quite dangerous, because we have adults who have a childish ego playing with adult toys. So, it is my complete and total responsibility to be the parent of myself. So, if we want to achieve world peace, before we march out there, first we need to march inside and become the parent of ourselves. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Madam Vella, Imam, honored guest, Salam Alaikum. I'm going to do it just 2 minutes, a small prayer. Almighty God and Creator, you are the Father of the people of the earth. Guide and pray all the nation and the leader with us the justice and peace. Protect us from the evil and of injustice, exploitation, conflict, and the war. Amen.
Now I would like to once again ask Imam Laiq Ahmed Atif to recite some prayers, and with that we will conclude this session. I would like to thank you all wholeheartedly for your presence here. Thank you so much.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise belongs to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, gracious, the merciful, Master of the day of judgment. O my Lord, a beggar I am of whatever good you bestow upon me. O my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Our Lord, perfect our light for us and forgive us. Surely you have power over all things. Our Lord, bestow on us mercy from yourself and provide for us right guidance in our affairs. Our Lord, grant us of our spouses and children the delight of our eyes, and make each of us a leader of the righteous. Our Lord, grant us good in this world as well as good in the world to come, and protect us from the torment of the fire. My Lord, make this a town of peace, and provide with fruits such of its dwellers as believe in Allah and the last day. O Allah, our Lord, send down to us a table from heaven, spread with food, that it may be to us a festival, to the first of us and to the last of us, and a sign from you, and provide sustenance for us, for you are the best of sustainers. I seek refuge in the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the God of mankind, from the evil of the sneaking whisperer, who whispers into the hearts of men from among the jinn and mankind. Guide our hearts towards goodness, O Allah, and establish reconciliation amongst us. Show us the path to peace. Deliver us from darkness and guide us to the light. Save us from devil deeds and mischief, whether these are manifest or hidden. O Lord, bless our eyes, our ears, and our hearts. Bless our spouses and children, and incline towards us with mercy and compassion. Surely you accept repentance and are oft returning with beneficence, and accomplish that bounty for us. Our Lord, accept this from us, for you are all hearing, all knowing. O Allah, I fasted for you, and I believe in you, and I put my trust in you, and I break my fast with your sustenance. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. And with that we conclude our session. I once again take this opportunity to thank you all, Your Excellency, Mrs. Vella, my distinguished speakers, and all respectable guests for joining us tonight. It is really an immense privilege and honor for us to have you all here. God bless you in abundance. Thank you.
So, Your Excellency, how did you find today's event?
Well, it was very interesting, and I make it a point to attend these meetings because I have to deliver the message that I'm not the president of a particular faith or religion, but the president of all Maltese. And in Maltese society today, we have all types of creeds and different beliefs, even those that have no belief at all. But the message is that we should all come together irrespective of what we believe in, because after all, as I said in my speech, we all believe in peace, we all believe that we should lead a happy life, and that we should be nice to each other.
I am Father Paul from Coptic Orthodox Church from Egypt. Thanks for Imam Laiq. This is a good day. Ahmadiyya group, Islamic. أنا فازر بولا من مصر. بنشكر الإمام لايق عاطف على المجهود اللي عمله والإخوة الأحباء في الأحمدية. صراحة كان يوم جميل جدا. يوم كله تعاون وكله إخاء وكله محبة. وإحنا بنقول زي ما بنقول في مصر رمضان شهر مبارك وشهر جميل بيجمع كل الإخوة معا وتحت لواء المحبة والسلام، ونشتاق للسلام للعالم كله والمحبة لكل العالم. ربنا يبارك في مجهودهم وربنا يبارك في حياتهم، ودايما دايما بالمحبة والسلام. شكرا.
So, Father Alfred Vella, what did you make of today's event?
Well, it's not my first time to attend an iftar celebration. And always when I attend this celebration, I understand that people, at the hearts of hearts, there is always a longing to see and to know who is God in their life. Therefore, this longing, this desire to know who is God makes us all one. Okay, there are different religions, but for sure there is only one God. And such a celebration makes us understand that we are all the same children of the same God. From whatever perspective, we look upon God. And this is what makes me really happy attending these celebrations, iftar, and other Islamic celebrations which I attend usually. Because my working with refugees in Malta, always make me meet people coming from different religions, especially from Muslim religion, although I'm a Catholic priest. But thank you.
What did you make of today's event, Mr. Magri?
It was a great experience for me because we had so many religions, all of them speaking about truth and love and charity and, of course, Ramadan. So it was something great which I appreciated, and I learned quite a lot as well because from Mr. Atif and from all the other people.
So, Father Ellul, what did you make of today's event?
Look, it's always wonderful to attend such a meeting, when you find people from various cultures, various religions. And it's also a very beautiful setting because, we're living in harmony together. And as I said in the beginning of my speech, the idea of sharing a meal together means that, we feel comfortable in each other's presence. And that helps a lot in building also an atmosphere of trust, which is the first step towards real dialogue.